our bodies are divine, not as an adjective, not like, oh, they're so lovely and wonderful and divine, which they absolutely are, but as a noun, like this is the one. There's no separation between our intuition and our body.
Ariel, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I'm really excited to be back.
I'm so excited that you're back, and I'm excited to be diving into this happier series with you. You are the 7th episode in the series, and there have been many just rich and beautiful conversations we've been having so far about happiness and what it means to us and how we can just be a little bit happier each day in our lives. And I'm really excited because you're going to be the first person to talk about our bodies and our bodies, non-negotiable inclusion in our happiness.
I think the first thing to note is in this realm of happiness, exploring our happiness, what is it that makes us happy? There's a thing in this world of personal development that I'm sure you've witnessed called false positivity. And affirmations are really important. The power of suggestion is really important. And if there are things going on physically in the body, there's a discord. And there's only so much we can say until the body actually catches up and aligns. So it's a really important piece of the puzzle. And I think it's easily forgotten about when so many are on the journey of personal development or spirituality.
The body, mind, soul connection, these 3 pieces that we have to have. And it's interesting for me, I feel like I said this in our first interview. The body piece is the piece that I have a tendency or history to forget about the most. Like, I'm really comfortable in my mind and exploring my mind. And then, of course, I'm like really comfortable in experiencing this like spiritual realm. And I feel a very deep connection to God in my life. But then my body often is taking the back seat. And I'm forgetting consistently sometimes. And even though I'm aware of it, it still happens. Forgetting consistently to like what I like to call land back in my body. So truly feel my feet on the ground, feel that sense of here I am. So, how would you coach me and coach somebody who like really needs that grounded feeling?
I've also started using on a lot of my material, bringing heaven down to earth. We could be so connected to these higher realms, but when we whether root or ground or integrate it down into our body, like we get to experience that in our everyday life, in our families, in our homes. So very simple to do. Sometimes, it has been as simple. I've worked with clients that are super anxious, super stressed. They've got adrenaline coursing through their body like crazy. And sometimes the simplest thing, if I'm on the computer, I've had people out of state, I'm like, pause, let's take a couple big breaths, stomp your feet. Like the simple act of just stomping your feet, getting physical, bringing your awareness down to the ground can make all the difference in the world.
I was expecting that you were going to say stomp your feet because actually for me that's what I do when I want to feel grounded is I
Interesting. Yeah.
stomp my feet. Yeah. And so it's actually funny that you said that because I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I do. And if I can stomp my feet on the earth like outside in the grass, that's like bonus points for me. But yes, like so I think that's such a helpful anchor and easy anchor that we can do anywhere. So for somebody then who's like, okay, I can stomp my feet, I can feel grounded, but I'm still like not that happy. I'm still having a hard day. I'm still feeling uncomfortable in my body, maybe. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, so everyone's going to be at a different capacity, a different level of their journey. They can integrate so much. So that's a really beginning point. Like, you're in a moment of overwhelm. Here's a quick hack. Last time I was here, we talked about the main program I work with, the metabolic reboot, and we start with a really brief 9-minute routine. And one of the movements, I think you and I did this, one of the movements is standing up tall for any yogis that know mountain pose, an aligned posture, but activating the muscles and squeezing the muscles. There again, it's a way of waking up the muscular system of the body, getting all of those good endorphins going, which is going to provide further happiness. But it's a next level up. in terms of calling upon the body.
Yeah, I love that. And if people want to reference back to your first episode on the podcast, which was amazing, it's called The Keys to Lifelong Metabolic Health with Ariel Griglin, episode 90. So definitely go check that out because we really go into like the nitty gritty of your work and the programs that you do. And it's so helpful. So, what at this point in your life, just like where you're sitting today, what is happiness really feeling like to you?
Hmm. Happiness feels like, gosh, I can use words like balance, like integration. Actually, this ties back to the conversation we had. Creativity has been really, really important for me. How I integrate that um, into every part of my life. You know, coming from an exercise background, the discipline piece was very easy for me. So filling in the gap with the playfulness and the creativity was really, really powerful.
What that reminds me of is the flow of like the yin and the yang, like the masculine and the feminine. So the creativity and the flow, and then the discipline and the structure meeting in the middle and being able to do that. Does that feel right for you?
That feels totally right, 100%. Young adults, parents starting a family, maybe those that are caring for parents and children at once, hold a higher level of responsibility. There can be higher burden, there can be higher pressures, and that can go one of two ways. That can move us towards stress, burnout, victimhood, and lack of happiness, or it can be empowering and fuel our happiness. So the reason I bring that up is because coming back to the creativity piece, that's how do we create our life? How do we um take the lemon that life has given us and use it?
Love that. That's so beautiful. And just a really great real life example of how we can shift our perspective very easily, like how powerful words are in our conscious and subconscious mind of saying, just declaring that I am going to let this challenge make me happier. I am going to let this struggle strip away what's no longer serving me, right?
Yeah, it was actually born out of, now I'm remembering the thought processes, just newer responsibilities that have fallen onto my plate financially and family and career. And the thought was, like, I created this. I get to do this. It's a little stressful at times. It kind of forces me to stretch, but that's what I want. That's what empowers me and gives me fulfillment and happiness and confidence.
Yeah. So, the people who are coming to you to help them get healthier in their bodies, what do you think they are getting wrong about happiness? Do they think, oh, the weight is going to leave me and then I'll be happy? Are you seeing any sort of misalignment there?
I used to see that a lot. Absolutely. It's interesting. I don't know what's changed, the outside world or me, or probably a little bit of both. But I'm very lucky and grateful that now a lot of my work is, and also there's a very thorough intake process of exploring all avenues of change, not just the physical body. Like, what else is going to change as a result of it? Something aside from this whole false positivity thing that I mentioned is, when it comes to exercise and moving the physical body, there's a lot of old beliefs around force. Like, I need to show up to the gym, I need to force myself to fit into a certain clothing size, or force myself into this diet, or force myself to train harder. And that's not always in alignment.
That's interesting.
Sometimes that causes more stress, more burden.
Wow. Okay. So, this makes me think of kind of like a limiting belief that has come up during this series, which is that work or happiness or fill in the blank here with your thing has to be hard for it to be worthy. And I think that's so interesting because I think it's kind of in the water. Like, work hard, like it's just, it's everywhere, you see. And so I would think in order to go to the gym, that would be kind of like a forcing thing. So, how, and this is why I love your work too, because it's more holistic, because you speak to the woman who is feminine and probably needs to force much less in her life and not more. So, how do you kind of play that out with your clients and in your life to surrender, stop the forcing, stop the controlling, and kind of let it unfold?
So in the very beginning of the programs that I work with, my partner Phil, um, he created something in the programs. He refers to it as ASAR, appropriate stress, adequate recovery. Appropriate stress, adequate recovery. So stress is important. We need stress, as I mentioned, to stretch ourselves, to feel happiness, to feel confident, to feel empowered, to see change in our body. But there's a right balance there, and there's no single answer for every single person. So some of that is intuitive. Some of that is having an expert or a guide or a coach to help you navigate those waters of what is appropriate stress and what is burdensome stress or unhealthy stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes that stress is, hey, I'm going to the gym. I need to just let off some steam and just pound some heavy weights or use a punching bag. And people walk out and they're like, wow, I feel so much better. But other times there's that inner dialogue of, I'm not enough. I can't handle this. This is too much. And that bleeds over into their workout and they just walk out feeling more depleted and more drained than they did before they got there.
So, how do you discern in your own life and for the clients that you work with, like what the moment calls for, I guess?
Yeah. Well, there's physical symptoms to look for in terms of how is their sleep looking? Are they irritable? Are they lashing out at their kids? Is their appetite changing? Those are really clear signs that, okay, they've shifted into unhealthy stress or more stress than their body can handle at that time. And then there's also an intuitive element. You know that when I work with my clients, there's a lot of intuition. So I can tell the energy they bring into a session if um if they've got a stance of happiness and excitement to be there or not.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, everything boils down to energy. And it's the whole reason that this podcast series exists because I found this study that says 83% of parents with young kids are extremely distressed, anxious, depressed, lonely. And I thought, well, if we're showing up like that as parents, as caregivers, as educators, what energy are we bringing to the table for the ones we love and our families and the people we work with and our neighbors and our community? Like, are we just showing up as this like misaligned, incoherent energy then? And I have to venture that the answer quite a bit is yes. And so like that's what we're here for is really shifting that and just like slowly shifting it and doing what we can, meeting ourselves where we're at in our lives to just kind of work our way up that ladder. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a linear, easy, struggle free path. It just means like we have a responsibility of how we show up day to day for ourselves and our people.
When I went through a radical change in my life. I don't remember if I've shared this with you. Spiritual awakening, death, divorce, everything was changing. And one of the mentors that I met at the time, healer, medicine man, he said, in every single moment, we have the opportunity to respond from love or fear. Every moment, every interaction, sitting at a computer, going to the gym, talking to the kids, it's love or fear. So it takes some practice to recognize that. But there have been times I realized that, I'm in the midst of my work and then I realize this isn't a very loving state. Let me walk away, go stomp my feet, go do a workout to shift that. And other times I can recognize, okay, this is feeling really good. I'm operating from love. And that's when the happiness and the confidence is just fueled.
I know one of the things that you do is really help women reconnect to their bodies. Why do you think that disconnect ever happens to begin with?
In the present moment, there's a lot of, I'll say, external forces moving us away from healthy connection with our body, whether we're looking at toxins in our environment or the last episode we talked about GLP-1s and the drug commercials, or even sitting at computers that doesn't support the physical body. We're sitting in a natural state. I would also say that it's a reflection. Our bodies are a reflection of what's going on inside. So we might say we're all here on a spiritual journey, a spiritual path to evolve, to work through some of those old energies. And our body is the physical representation to say, here it is.
That's so interesting, and I'm so glad you brought us here because one of the things that I've had to integrate in my own life is this intuition. So I often picture like my third eye being in an infinity loop with my heart and or my solar plexus to like, really get this visual that I'm integrated and that yes, I have this intuition and this crown chakra and this powerful spiritual access, but I also have this willpower and this, strength at my core. And so my question for you then becomes how do we use our bodies as sources of intuition, as ways to tap into what's right for us and what's not right for us?
I was chatting with a girlfriend a couple weeks ago, and I said one of these things that I just assumed was so obvious. And it was like mind blowing for her. And a little backstory, this woman's an energy channeler, very, very connected to divine. And something came through about symptoms or discord, like some kind of pain in her body. And she sent out a message like needing some support, needing a little uplift, like any words of encouragement would be helpful. And there was no need to like say rah rah, that false positivity. I just clearly said, our bodies are divine, not as an adjective, not like, oh, they're so lovely and wonderful and divine, which they absolutely are, but as a noun, like this is the one. And for me, that's really how I connect to divine. So if there is an elbow pain or a crusty eye or a tummy ache, whatever the case may be, like that's the direct communication. There's no separation between our intuition and our body. That's it.
Wow. So the obstacle is the way, essentially. I don't know why that phrase, I feel like that's the title of a book also, but that's the phrase that popped into my mind when you were saying that. Like, and I don't mean like oh, body, you're the obstacle. But sometimes we can go, oh, why do I have this pain in my elbow? Why do I have this crusty eye? Oh, a tummy ache. This is inconvenient. Right. And so we can make these physical symptoms into curses when perhaps they are blessings and even simply just information on what might be better served for us, what might be a better way to care for our bodies, actually.
It's pure attention. When we have a symptom or a pain or something going on, it's the body saying, alert, 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 pay attention. And when we bring our attention, we bring our awareness, we bring our spirit to that area. And you're so right. The obstacle is the way. And I just want to bring that back to the way we started this conversation. That's creative energy. Like that's transmuting what's in front of us. And life gives us lemons. What do we do with it?
Yeah. And what do we do with it? Right. I think we as a culture are crazy enough, like, really encouraged to be victims. I think there's a lot of like victim mentality encouragement. And I think that we need to kind of wake up to that a little bit. And yes, we have been victimized. Like, yes, that happened. It happens. Also, like, now what? Like, now what's the choice? Because if we are walking around in a victim, woe is me body, then what kind of life are we going to be living?
And just like I said about physical symptoms, if that's more of a mental symptom, the stress, the victimhood, it's the same thing. Like the obstacle's the way. So if that is divine speaking to you, calling your attention, we might view that as, oh, I see what's going on here. I feel so stressed out. I feel so unhappy and like the victim in the situation. Maybe there's an opportunity right here for my power.
Yeah.
Healing is it's called a healing art. So there's a creative element. Like, what do we actually do with that stress?
So I'm curious what you would tell parents, educators, and caregivers how to model this body awareness for their children. Because as we know, they do what we do, not what we say. So, what are ways we can healthily model being in our bodies for the kids around us?
Yeah, that's huge, 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 huge. I can't tell you how many times I've seen. I was just in conversation about this as well. How things, eating patterns play out for the kids, and there's something going on with the mother. Maybe it's an unhealthy relationship with the food. So that's a really solid place for most women to start, ensuring that they have a healthy relationship with food. And as a byproduct, the kids will enjoy eating produce rather than running for the sugar all the time. But also encouraging movements, like anything that is still or stuck or stagnant, that's moving away from life. That's decline. That's death. So, I was just with a woman yesterday, and she's like, "When I am with my kids, like, we are not on the iPads, we're playing soccer, we're playing basketball, we're going to the park, just any kind of movement." Hello, there's all of the dopamine, the endorphins, the serotonin, and all of the positive impact that's making on the brain for both the child and the parent.
Yeah. So for the busy parent, the go-getter, the high achiever, which is a lot of us here, what would you say to somebody about, I guess it would be called habit stacking. So adding in body awareness practices throughout our day, like when we're walking or when we're cooking or when we're in the car even, like what are some simple ways to really land in our bodies while we're on the go?
That's great. I also do a lot of meditation with my clients, and I share with them, although I lead guided meditations, meditation can happen in so many different ways. I have a feeling your audience knows that. This is a pretty evolved audience, and something that's so simple if you're not, sitting in 40 minutes of a meditative position with eyes closed and music. If you're on the go and you're busy, just come into your five senses. That's what a part of stomping the feet is. That's a really easy thing you can do with the kids. It's a really easy thing you can do in the grocery store, in the car. Wait a second, I'm feeling really stressed out right now. Let me find five things that my eyes are taking in: colors, textures, patterns. Even if it slows us down for 10 seconds, it's something. And you said habit stacking. So the more we do that, the more peace or happiness we gain. But it does take practice. Move. Move and you've got control. Like, that's the main thing. You're always, always, always in control. We all have free will, and nobody can ever take that away from us.
Ariel, your work is fantastic. I just love being in your ecosystem. Arielgriglin.com is your website. Check it out. It's beautiful. Got lots of resources. You have many different offerings. So thank you so much for being you and for being here today.
Thank you so much, Ryan.